Hello and welcome to the Beckoning Bookshelf. I am your host, Jeffrey Ashcraft. I am a big C.S. Lewis fan. I love his books. I love his intellect. And to be honest, I think I read his books partly in the hopes that I will absorb some of his intellect, because if I could just gain just a smidgen, just a fraction of his intelligence, that would be awesome, because C.S. Lewis is a genius. Well, we're going to be talking about one of his books today. We'll be talking about the first book in his science fiction trilogy, Out of the Silent Planet. This book was published in 1938, and I believe it is his second work of fiction, with the only prior book being The Pilgrim's Regress, published in 1933. Also, this book, Out of the Silent Planet, apparently stemmed from a contest that Lewis had with friend and fellow scholar J.R.R. Tolkien. Apparently the two were having conversations about contemporary literature at the time and the fact that it was mediocre and boring, and they decided to have a contest about writing books. C.S. Lewis would write a book about space travel, while Tolkien would write one about time travel. Well, Tolkien never finished his, while Lewis eventually published Out of the Silent Planet. So what is this book about? Well, the book follows Dr. Ransom, who is abducted by a megalomaniac physicist and his assistant and taken to the alien planet Malacandra. Why do they abduct Dr. Ransom? Well, to be a human sacrifice. Ransom is able to escape his captors, but upon doing so finds himself lost and alone on an alien planet with no way home. Well, that sounds fascinating. But is the book any good? Well, first off, it is clearly a C.S. Lewis book. His intellect, his literary expertise are all here. And you feel smarter as you read the book, let's be honest. Just like any other C.S. Lewis work, as you read it, you feel more intelligent. But even more so, what is, I think, on full display in this book is C.S. Lewis's imagination and his power of creation. Because he creates a whole world, a whole planet, Malacandra, and he creates it in such depth and detail that by the time you're finished the book, you feel like you've been there. You feel like you've been to Malacandra, and that is awesome, and it sounds like such a cool place to be. I mean, it can be compared to a lot of the excitement and wonder that people had with Avatar's Pandora. You know, a lot of people just found that planet to be amazing when they watched the movie Avatar. Well, I think that's comparable to just how amazing C.S. Lewis makes Malacandra. Malacandra sounds awesome, and here's an illustration of Malacandra. I'll do a larger version here. But yeah, hands down my favorite part of the book. Malacandra is amazing. The detail that C.S. Lewis puts into creating this planet is amazing. And you can really tell that C.S. Lewis really loved creating the planet, because you can just feel his joy and his excitement as you read the book. It's great. Now, that's not to say that the book is perfect, because, like I said, Lewis creates this planet with such detail. But that also means that we read about it in such detail. And that can kind of make the book kind of slow and tedious and boring at times. On more than one occasion, I just kind of felt like, okay, well, I want something interesting to happen again. So, let me demonstrate. So, the plot primarily takes place during the first 25 pages of the book and the last 25 pages of the book. I counted. The book is about 150 pages long. So what happens in the middle 100 pages? Well, it's literally Dr. Ransom exploring the planet in that rich detail that I explained. And that can get a little boring for 100 pages. And now there are interesting things that happen, and I'm not going to divulge them because I don't want to provide spoilers. But again, The book kind of comes off more as a research expedition than a space adventure novel, just to be clear. It's kind of like a space version of Lewis and Clark, or if Picard got stranded on an alien planet with no gear and by himself, and he had to survive. That's basically what it is. The plot, for what is there, is interesting in the beginning and end, and the antagonists are interesting, their motivations are interesting, so that's not to say that the plot or the book itself is boring, but it does have some boring parts. Now, is there religion in the book? Because it's C.S. Lewis. He is one of the most famous Christian scholars of all time. Well, there is religion, yes. Does it really have anything to do with the story? Currently, no. I don't know if it will later, I don't know. But it's kind of a side note in this book. And is it Christianity? Not sure yet. But it does seem to be leaning in that direction. I'll explain, and this is just mild spoilers, because again, the religious part of the book doesn't really pertain to the plot or the story or anything else. It's really just kind of a random side note. But Ransom does encounter these beings made of light called Eldila. At least I think that's what they're... I think that's how you pronounce it. Here's the spelling. I am terrible at pronouncing words, hands down. I'm terrible at it, especially words that are made up, or, well, not just made up words. I mean, I had trouble... I read Harry Potter books before the movies came out, and when I heard Hermione for the first time, I thought, oh, that's how you say her name. Oh, okay. I was way off. I would demonstrate that what I was saying, but I think I said her name differently every time I came across it. So, on that note, I'm going to do a slight rant here. Every science fiction book and fantasy book should have a pronunciation guide. Like, what? Why not? I mean, Chronicles of Prydain has it, so what? It would help me. I don't do audiobooks, and audiobooks haven't always existed, so, I mean, come on. Why not have pronunciation guides? But, okay, I'm digressing. Back to the book, back to the point. So, Ransom does encounter these beings of light called Eldila, and they're clearly meant to be angels. 100%, they're angels. And he hears of a god that created Malacandra, and that god's name is Maladil. Again, spelling. I don't know if I'm saying this right. I don't know. And he also learns of a bent Eldila, an Eldila who rebelled against Maladil and is now cursed. Now, if you're thinking, well, that sounds familiar. That sounds like a Christian story. Yeah. That's why I'm saying it's leaning towards Christianity, but it's not explicitly Christianity yet. At least not to my knowledge. Maybe that'll become clear in the next book. But should you read the book? Well, yeah, I think so. Now, if you're looking for a book about space adventures with intergalactic battles and high-tech futuristic technology and all that, this book is not for you. Go read Brandon Sanderson's Skyward or something. But if you want to explore an alien planet, this book is totally for you, because that's totally what happens. And also, even if you're not all that interested in exploring an alien planet, if you like C.S. Lewis, if you like just his works, this book isn't all that long. And it is really interesting to read, to say the least. So, yeah, I'd say pick it up. And honestly, if you don't want to read the book, at least go outside. Because one of the things that I was reminded of, well, I guess one of the lessons I can take from this book, I should say, something like that, is just how magnificent our own world is, and how often we just ignore that. Dr. Ransom comes to have a love for Malacandra. And you can also just feel the love that C.S. Lewis has for this creation that he has made. And it kind of reminds me of just how magnificent and majestic our own planet is, and how often we just kind of ignore it. How often we just take it for granted and we don't take the time to just enjoy the beauty of our world. So if you're not going to read the book, feel free to go outside and just experience the world. Go explore. Go learn something new. Go find something fascinating. Tell us about it. Yeah, so tell us what you find interesting about this world. Tell us some of the beautiful things that you've seen. And if you have read C.S. Lewis, what do you like about C.S. Lewis? What do you think about Out of the Silent Planet? Have you read, did you even know that he wrote a science fiction trilogy? Well, that's all I have for today. Thank you for being here. Thank you always for your time. You are amazing. Now go find yourself a good book.